Schopenhauer's terrifying truth about women nature, that you should know by now. Have you ever felt that the dynamic society preaches about relationships and women are almost never accurate? Eventually, you awake. And how does it feel when you realize everything you believed about relationships was a comfortable lie? I want you to imagine something with me. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a vast, dark ocean. The water is turbulent, unpredictable. This ocean represents the true nature of human relationships, specifically the aspects of female nature that society has desperately tried to conceal from you. Today I'm going to pull back the curtain and reveal what many have suspected but few have dared to articulate. And yes, while these insights may initially disturb you, by the end of our journey you'll possess something far more valuable than comfortable illusions. You'll have the truth. And with truth comes power, the power to navigate this complex world with your eyes fully open. The uncomfortable reality we must face. Let me ask you a question that might make you uncomfortable. Have you ever wondered why so many relationships follow the same painful pattern? The initial attraction, the passionate beginning, and then the slow, confusing decline that leaves you wondering what went wrong. What if I told you this pattern isn't random? What if it's actually the product of biological and psychological imperatives that have been shaped over thousands of years of human evolution? The truth is that female nature, like male nature, has been shaped by evolutionary pressures that most people refuse to acknowledge. While modern society preaches that we're all blank slates with no inherent behavioral tendencies, the reality is far more complex and far more fascinating. Women, by their very biological design, are naturally inclined towards certain selection criteria when choosing partners. These aren't conscious decisions, but deeply ingrained evolutionary strategies designed for survival and reproduction in an environment that no longer exists. Yet these ancient programs still run in the background of our modern minds. One of the most difficult truths to accept is that genuine, unconditional love, the kind portrayed in fairy tales and romantic movies, is largely a social construct that bears little resemblance to how attraction actually works in reality. The hidden mechanics of attraction. Let me take you deeper into understanding what's really happening beneath the surface. In our modern, superficial society, we've been conditioned to believe that relationships are primarily about emotional connection and compatibility. But there's a darker, more primal layer operating beneath our conscious awareness. At their core, human mating strategies are pragmatic, not romantic. The female selection mechanism is naturally geared toward securing the best possible genes and resources for potential offspring. This isn't calculated or malicious. It's simply nature's programming running its course. In our ancestral environment, this meant seeking men who demonstrated high status, resource control, and social dominance. Today, these same mechanisms manifest in what we observe as hypergamy, the tendency to be attracted to partners of equal or higher socioeconomic status. This is why you may have experienced the confusing situation where a woman's words and actions don't align. She might say she wants a kind, sensitive partner, but consistently choose men who display confidence, assertiveness, and a certain degree of emotional detachment. This isn't deception. It's the disconnect between conscious ideals and unconscious drives. When you truly understand this dynamic, seemingly confusing behaviors begin to make perfect sense. The constant fitness testing, the way interest often fades when you become too accommodating, the mysterious attraction to men who maintain a degree of emotional distance. These aren't random occurrences but predictable patterns driven by ancient programming. The society that profits from your confusion. Now, you might be wondering, if these dynamics are so fundamental to human nature, why aren't they common knowledge? Why does it feel like you've been kept in the dark? The uncomfortable truth is that our superficial society has a vested interest in maintaining certain illusions about relationships. The modern dating marketplace thrives on confusion and false hope. From dating apps to relationship experts selling quick fixes, there's an entire industry built around exploiting your lack of understanding about female nature. Media and entertainment constantly reinforce unrealistic expectations about relationships. They sell fantasies where devoted love is freely given regardless of a man's behavior or characteristics. They portray relationships as magical connections rather than dynamic exchanges that follow predictable patterns. This creates a painful cycle where men repeatedly invest in strategies that are doomed to fail, then blame themselves when the inevitable occurs. They try harder with the next person, doubling down on the very behaviors that undermine attraction, creating a perpetual loop of disappointment and confusion. And here's the most troubling part. Many men go their entire lives without ever understanding these fundamental truths. They experience the same painful patterns repeatedly, never realizing that they're playing a game whose rules they've never been taught. Voice becomes more intimate, as if sharing a secret. But you're different. The fact that you're still listening suggests you've sensed these truths already. Perhaps you've experienced them firsthand and have been searching for answers. Today marks the beginning of your liberation from confusion and frustration. The path forward. Transforming understanding into power. Now, I want you to take a deep breath, because what I'm about to share next will transform everything we've discussed from a source of despair into a source of tremendous power and possibility. Understanding female nature isn't about becoming cynical or manipulative. It's about aligning yourself with reality so you can create authentic connections based on how attraction actually works, rather than how you've been told it should work. The first step toward transformation is accepting a fundamental truth. You cannot change female nature, but you can change yourself. Instead of fighting against biological realities, successful men learn to work with them. What does this mean in practice? It means focusing on becoming a man of genuine value and substance. This isn't about superficial displays of wealth or status. Women's intuition is finely tuned to detect authenticity. It means developing unshakable confidence that comes from within, rather than seeking validation from others. When you truly value yourself, you naturally become less reactive to tests and challenges in relationships. It means mastering emotional self-regulation so you can maintain a steady presence regardless of external circumstances. The ability to remain centered and purposeful in the face of emotional turbulence is one of the most powerfully attractive traits a man can develop. It means learning to lead, not through control or domination, but through clear direction and purpose. Nature has designed the dance of attraction with complementary roles, and when you embrace your natural leadership position, you create space for a woman to connect with her feminine essence. Most importantly, it means developing a genuine passion and purpose that exists independently of any relationship. When your sense of fulfillment comes primarily from within and from your mission in life, you naturally become more attractive and less likely to engage in the needy behaviors that kill attraction. The higher consciousness approach. There's another dimension to this journey that transcends mere tactical understanding. As you evolve in your consciousness, you begin to see these dynamics from a higher perspective. From this elevated viewpoint, you recognize that the very patterns that once caused you pain are actually perfect in their design. They're nature's way of ensuring that you continue to grow, to strengthen, and to evolve into the man you're capable of becoming. What if these challenging aspects of female nature aren't obstacles to your happiness, but catalysts for your transformation? What if they're precisely what you need to transcend your limitations and access your highest potential? When you reach this level of understanding, something remarkable happens. You no longer feel angry or resentful about these realities. Instead, you feel profound gratitude for the perfect design of human relationships, a design that continuously pushes you toward greater strength, authenticity, and self-mastery. This shift in consciousness is what separates truly empowered men from those who are merely applying techniques. It's the difference between manipulating circumstances and transcending them entirely. From this elevated state, you begin to appreciate women not despite their nature but because of it. You recognize that the very qualities that once confused you are actually the perfect complement to your masculine essence when properly understood. The journey from darkness to light. Now let me share a story that illustrates this journey from confusion to mastery. I once knew a man, let's call him Michael, who had experienced a series of painful relationship failures. Each followed the same pattern. Initial intense attraction followed by a gradual loss of interest from his partners. Michael had tried everything, being more attentive, more generous, more accommodating. But each attempt to fix the relationship only seemed to accelerate its decline. By the time he came to me, he was bitter and confused, convinced that meaningful relationships were simply not possible in today's world. Our work together began with the very truths I've shared with you today. At first, Michael resisted. These ideas challenged everything he'd been taught about relationships. But as he began to see how perfectly they explained his past experiences, resistance gave way to understanding. Michael's transformation didn't happen overnight. It was a process of gradually integrating these truths into his worldview and behavior. He focused first on rebuilding his relationship with himself, rediscovering his passion, strengthening his boundaries, and reconnecting with his sense of purpose. As his internal reality shifted, his external reality began to change as well. Women responded to him differently. The same behaviors that had once created distance now created attraction. The tests that had once derailed him now became opportunities to demonstrate his strength of character. But the most remarkable change wasn't in how others responded to Michael. It was in how he felt within himself. The anxiety and desperation that had characterized his approach to relationships were replaced by a calm confidence. He no longer needed validation from women because he had found it within himself. Today, Michael is in a relationship characterized by mutual respect, passion, and genuine connection. But more importantly, he knows that his happiness isn't dependent on this relationship. He has discovered a fulfillment that exists independently of external circumstances. And paradoxically, this is precisely what makes his relationship thrive. Your path forward begins now. As we come to the end of our time together, I want you to know that what I've shared today is just the beginning. The path of understanding female nature is a lifelong journey of ever-deepening insight and mastery. Some of what I've shared may challenge your existing beliefs. That's natural and even necessary. True growth always begins at the edge of your comfort zone. I invite you to take these insights not as absolute truths to be blindly accepted, but as perspectives to be tested against your own experience. Apply what resonates, observe the results, and continue to refine your understanding. Remember that the ultimate goal isn't to control or manipulate others, but to free yourself from illusions that cause unnecessary suffering. When you align yourself with reality rather than fantasy, you create the foundation for authentic connections based on truth rather than wishful thinking. The journey ahead won't always be easy. There will be moments of confusion and backsliding. Old patterns don't disappear overnight, but with each step forward, the path becomes clearer and your strength more certain. And know this: beyond the initial discomfort of these truths lies a liberation more profound than you can currently imagine. When you no longer need reality to conform to your preferences, when you can embrace it exactly as it is, you gain access to a power and peace that few men ever experience. So, my friend, as you stand at this crossroads, I ask you, are you ready to leave behind comfortable illusions for uncomfortable truths? Are you willing to embark on this journey of transformation, knowing that what awaits you on the other side is worth whatever challenges you might face along the way? If your answer is yes, then know that today marks the beginning of a new chapter in your life. A chapter where confusion gives way to clarity, where frustration transforms into mastery, and where you finally step into the powerful, authentic manhood that has been your birthright all along. The choice, as always, is yours. But having come this far, I suspect you've already made your decision, and I look forward to walking beside you as your guide on the journey ahead. Remember, the truth may initially disturb you, but ultimately, it's the only thing that can truly set you free.